This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
Okay, so there's been a lot going on. There will be a lot going on. The Browns are in the middle of free agency, but in the middle of this chaos, I am trying to put together a mock draft. Now, because of how my recording schedule is out, my personal schedule, I'm having to record this Wednesday night. So if something happens after March 11th at 6:28 p.m. Eastern, and it's not included in this video, it is because at a time of recording, it did not happen yet. I want to put that disclaimer out there because the Browns could, sign a left tackle that completely changes the math on what the Browns are going to do early on. Or maybe they make a trade for a wide receiver or something like that. So just in case that happens, just letting you know, I am recording this before that happens. So please don't be mad at me for not acknowledging that the future happened when I'm not in the future. That all being said, it's been a minute since we've done a mock draft, and I think it's time that we do one now that we have seen what the Browns' general direction has been in free agency. The Browns have been heavy in attacking the offensive line, heavy in putting emphasis there. They got 3 starters on the offensive line. They got Jenkins. They got another Jenkins. They got Titus. So that's 3 starters, maybe 4 possible starters. And they got Zion Johnson. So they have already attacked the offensive line and improved the offensive line from where they were last year. Will they add to that with the draft? We'll see how the board shakes out, but let's get into it with the mock draft. And I'm sorry, this intro's full of disclaimers, but just another disclaimer. These mock drafts that I do are not to predict. I don't care about predicting the future in these mock drafts. What I care about is doing the work of the scenario and playing the scenario. So I'm not trying to predict the future. I'm not trying to say this is what the Browns are going to do. I think that's pretty pointless to do in a mock draft. I think that's a useless exercise. What I want to do is the original intention of a mock draft, which is to run yourself through a bunch of different scenarios and see how you will respond with the options that you have available with what you have on your roster. So that's all I'm doing here. So that's what we're doing. We're not trying to predict what the Browns are going to do. We have some free agent information and we're going to work off of it. All right, so let's get into the mock draft scenario for this week. Again, we're factoring in what the Browns have done up until March 11th at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to start here with just jumping to the 6th pick. I don't think the Browns are going to trade up. So let's just start the scenario. All right, so we're sitting at the 6th pick. If we're looking at what picks the Browns have available, we have 107, 144, 205, 248. I think these are still accurate. There might be a couple of picks in here that shouldn't, but not really confident. We have some trade back partners. Miami is a trade back partner. The Buccaneers are a bit out of my range. If you remember, my range for me, I want to land between 7 and 13. Anywhere outside of 7 and 13, I'm not comfortable. So 15's out of my range. Really only Miami is biting there. If we're looking at what Miami has to offer, they have 11, 43, 75, 87, 90. So they have 1 second-round pick and 3 third-round picks, which I do find interesting. They don't have any extra first, but they do have a bunch of thirds here. So let's see what we could cook up with the Dolphins if we can make a package that's worthwhile. So they're willing to give us 43. Are they willing to give us a future 1? No, but they're willing to give us 43 and then another third. How about you give us a third, and then we'll give you 147 in return. They might be willing to do that. Some kind of pick swap situation. Moving from 11 to 43 to 87, and then that would be a nice little haul, but it's not a life-changing haul. Let's see who's on the board, too, as well. So Mao Noah is still there. Monroe Freeling is still there. And wide receiver wise, all three of those wide receivers are there, right? Tate, Lemon, and Tyson, all there. So do I think there's enough cushion here to get me to Monroe Freeling at 11? Maybe so. So let's pull the trigger on the trade, right? If this is how the board falls out, I think there's going to be enough there to justify it. Yeah, can I get 87? Yeah, let's try 87 first. They have accepted the trade. We have picked up an extra first and a third, extra second and a third, my bad, to move back 5 spots. So yeah, we're sitting pretty good here. I mean, like our whole board's here. Monroe Freeling is here. Francis Mauanoa is here. If we're looking at wide receiver, I mean, Mekhi Lemon and Jordan Tyson are here. The reality is that the Browns are trying to rebuild this football team. And since the Browns are trying to rebuild this football team, they are trying to build these trenches to last. And I think building the trenches to last means a significant investment when it comes to not just free agency, but the draft. So if you're picking between wide receiver or tackle, I think you got to go tackle. The reason I think you got to go tackle is there's just good wide receivers in every draft class. There's an increasingly small number of good left tackles in each draft class, right? If you look at last year's draft class, you had like 5-6 good wide receivers in that class. You had about 1 good tackle. In this class, there's one guy who fits that mold at left tackle, and that's Monroe Freeling. Tackle is starting to become much like quarterback, where it's so rare to find somebody who can fill that hole that if you have that guy available, it's kind of hard to pass up. You know, you might be able to get a wide receiver with the later pick in this draft. You're not going to be able to fill this hole at tackle with this pick in the draft. So while I like Mekhi Lemon, I liked Carnell Tate, I like Jordan Tyson, I like Francis Mauanoa, I'm probably going to go Monroe Freeling here. Now, why Freeling over Mauanoa? Even though Mauanoa is the better player at this point of his career. 1, I think Freeling has upside. 2, left tackle, right? Like he can play left tackle. I think Mauanoa is more of a guard. If you look at where the Browns spent their money, you know, they got they got Guy and Jenkins that can play either guard or center. He's probably going to play right guard. And the Browns are probably going to attack center later on in this draft, or at least I am in this mock draft scenario. So I don't really have interest in a inside offensive lineman this early, but a left tackle I do have interest in. So that kind of rules out Mauanoa, who I think isn't going to be the left tackle that Monroe Freeling can be. And that means that I select him here. And I'm pretty happy. I got extra picks, and I got the guy I was going to take at 6. Now we're sitting at pick 24. We are looking at our options here. This is where wide receiver is going to become interesting, right? Omar Cooper is a name that I heard people talk about a lot. We saw him at Indiana. 6 foot, 204 pounds, a nice athletic wide receiver. Denzel Boston fits more of that big body mold, 6'4", 209. Some good contested catch rate stuff. But the problem with him is separation. Didn't really do a great job of separation. And then if you look at some of the better defenses he played in college football, the performance wasn't really great, right? Ohio State, Michigan, Illinois is a good defense. He had a good game against them. So not to say that he did over for the whole year, as well as a decent performance versus Oregon, according to Pro Football Focus. You could take that as far as it goes. Casey Concepcion is kind of in that mode of what, you know, we've seen Todd Monken have success with Zay Flowers, right? Somebody who you can get the ball to and he can make plays with it. So those are your options at wide receiver. We're going to look around here. Because the Browns pretty much, they don't have to go double offensive line, right? After everything that they did in free agency, I think double offensive line is off the board. They could go corner here. I think it's a bit early for corner for them. See what safety looks like. I think it's early for safety for them. Linebacker, I mean, they spent money on Quincy Williams. I don't think this is a first round linebacker type of draft, so I would probably stay away from it. Wide receiver, it's between Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston. Omar Cooper, I like Omar Cooper. I don't think the Browns are going to be able to utilize Omar Cooper well. I think he's just not a fit for the Browns offense. The Browns need guys who can like either make a play on a ball downfield in 50-50 contested catch situations. And not to say that Omar Cooper can't make a wild catch. He certainly did. He made the best catch of the year in college football, but he's not really a 50-50 contested catch guy. Like if you look at his contested catch rate, it's not super high. But Denzel Boston, I mean, it's one of the best in the country, 6'4", 209. So I like that from Denzel. How old is Denzel as well? True Junior, 22 years old. Casey Concepcion is a playmaker with the ball in his hands, but he can't catch. And that's a big knock on him. So I can see this going either way, but we're going to go Denzel Boston here. Right? Is that the best move I can make? Let me look at the overall board to make sure I don't feel like I'm making a mistake here. Yeah, Denzel Boston. Let's go Denzel Boston. All right, so we're sitting at pick 39. We have pick 43 in our back pocket. We've already, I mean, like I feel like my offensive line's complete. Wide receiver room is starting to get there. Let's see who's available in the wide receiver room, right? Jeremy Bernard, Chris Bell, Skylar Bell is a name I'm going to watch because I think he's another guy who can make plays. Not the biggest guy in the world, but a fun player to watch. He is pretty old for the Browns to draft, but you know, who knows how those guardrails change when different coaches are in collaboration with Andrew Berry in this process. Max Clare, Eli Stowers, Justin Jolly. Yeah. Oscar Dope? Yeah, not here. Not in the second round, obviously. It's funny because free agency, you know, it was so easy to do these mock drafts earlier when I'm like, oh, well, the Browns could take 18 offensive linemen, right? Because they haven't done anything in free agency yet. But now that they have, it kind of narrows in what you can do here. D'Angelo Pons would be a bit early here at 39. I think I can get him at 43. Yeah, I think I'm going to look at some trade backs here. So what are the trade backs here? 55 with the Chargers. What are you willing to offer me for this? Are you willing to give me a third? And a third next year? Second next year? So third and a fourth. You're willing to give me your whole fucking draft for this pick? Okay. Yeah. You know, how many selections am I trying to make? I already made 2. I have 1, 2, 3, 4... 5, 6, 7, 8. So if I trade for 86, I can get 123, and I can probably make all 7 of my picks in the top 100. Let's try to do that. Let's try to make all 7 of these picks in the top 100 then. So yeah, let's take that offer from them. Let's resume here. And then now, if I look at my picks, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I'm not taking 12 players. I'm going to take about 7. And right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 selections in the top 90. So I'm going to try to cash these out, these 5 picks for picks in the future or picks in the top 100. So maybe move up from 107 here, depending on how the board falls. All right. So pick 43. I think I'm going to go D'Angelo Pons here at pick 43. Is there anything getting me away from D'Angelo Pons here? Nothing at quarterback. Nothing at wide receiver, even though I do want to keep an eye on Skylar Bell. Nothing at running back. Nothing at tackle. Center, guard, nothing yet. Keep my eye on Chase Basantis. But now that I don't need a starter, you know, I'm not really going to have to jump in there and do that. Pons, interior, Jackson, Halsey. I can wait till 70 to get AJ. Edge. Yeah, I think I'm turning this card in for Pons. All right, we're going to pick again here at 55. Let's see. Skylar Bell's still there. Really productive out of Connecticut. The only issue with him is that he's a bit older, right? And age matters when it comes to prospects for a number of reasons. One, longevity, right? I think that's the obvious thing people jump to. You know, if a guy is 24 years old right now, which Skylar Bell's rounding the corner to 24, you know, by the time you get out that rookie deal, he's going to be about 28, 29. So is that something you want to sign up for? Does that match your timeline? I think the other reason that production matters is, I mean, not production, but age matters, is linking it to your production, right? Skylar Bell is super productive, right? 1,200 yards. But that's at the age of 23. If you go back to when he was 21, you know, he had 300 yards when he was 21. And then if we compare that, look, who's 21 in this draft? Not Surratt. Surratt's definitely not 21 years old. Like, how old is Bryce Lance? We don't know how old Bryce Lance is, but he's probably 22 years old. If we look at his production when he was 21, it was about 1,000 yards. So, like, you know, how do you value that? Somebody who was already productive at a younger age, is that guy just more talented? And then the guy who can get, you know, a bunch of yards, a bunch of production when they're 24 or rounding the corner to 23, and they have that age advantage over somebody. You know, that's a big question to ask yourself. Like, Skylar Bell has a lot to like on tape, but that's a big question mark with him. More than likely, like, this would be a different conversation if maybe I can get something at pick 60. So I'll watch Skylar Bell. If pick 60 comes around and he's still available, maybe I try to move up into the early third to get him. But second round, late second, I don't know if that's what I want to do. But if I don't have a better option, then maybe that's what we go ahead and just do. Kamari Ramsey there, Genesis Smith there. Who else? So Hulsey's gone. Did Hulsey go? Yeah, I think Hulsey's gone. That's unfortunate. Keontae Scott is there. I like Keontae Scott. There's Jacob Rodriguez. Wide receivers. What about interior guys? Darrell Jackson, Grace Horn, Dante Corley. Yeah. I don't really think the Browns have a huge need at defensive interior, in my opinion. It's more of a value thing than anything. You might go Skylar Bell here. I mean, for your second wide receiver, maybe we go Skylar Bell. Keontae Scott's probably the best player available right now. Him and Jacob Rodriguez. With Jacob, it's just like, I don't know where we would play him. You know, like, I don't know what the plan is to get this guy on the field. And if there's no plan to get him on the field, like, you know, he's also another one who's a bit older. All right, so this selection to me is going to come down to Jennings Dunker and Skylar Bell. Let's get Skylar Bell. We need somebody who could play make at the wide receiver position. He could fit that mold. Let's get somebody who could potentially be a bit of a playmaker here. So, going to make that move here. All right, so where are we sitting at here? Sam Hecht is there. That's probably going to be the pick, Sam Hecht here. Full draft. I want to slow this down a little bit now because I'm going to make some trades here. Yeah. So we're going to go Sam Hecht here and get ourselves a center. Who else do I want to watch on the board here? Bryce Lance is definitely somebody I want to leave here with. If the price is right, Max Clare could make sense here. Sam Roush, I like him too. Let's get Max Clare later. And we're going to take Sam Heck here. And then we're going to try and get Max Clare. What I want to leave here with is Max Clare and Kalen Rutledge. So Sam Heck, Max Clare, Kalen Rutledge. Want those three in the third. That's what I want to leave here with. So let's get Sam. Sam fits the profile. He's going to play center for us. Let's go ahead and get Sam. And then let's watch the board for Max because we can move up if we want to. And I'm probably going to want to jump in here. Who needs a tight end? Let's jump in at 74. So let's make a trade for 74. 74, 86. And then since I got these other picks, I can just throw that at Kansas City and get 74. I wonder if I could just manifest 74 out of all these extra picks. All right. No, let me stop messing around. So 86, 76, and then, yeah, I'll give you 144. So how about that? You okay with doing that? Not accepted. We'll throw 205 in there. All right, cool. Let's get Heck. Let's watch the board. All right, we're going to get Max Clare here. Let's watch the board. Who needs guard? I think I'm good. I think I'm going to get the guard here. Here, Roush, Farmer. Yeah, let's get Rutledge. All right. We can speed it up now. Bryce Lance just went. All right, so now I only got 3 picks left, 2 4th rounds, and then 1 7th. Let's see what's on the board right now. Okay, Ted Hurst is going to be the selection. I'm just going to see if there is more that I can get here. Oh, Bud Clark. Okay, so I want to get Bud Clark. Anybody else I want to get? Wiki, Devin Marshall. Devin Marshall would be a fun grab. Yeah, so Bud Clark, Devin Marshall. Definitely going to draft Ted Hurst at 107 here. Sap. Let's look at interior guys. Rayshawn, Capehart. I think we're good here. All right, so gonna get Ted, and then I guess at 123. I mean, like I might be able to move up, but I'm pretty much out of moves here. So if I could get Bud Clark or Devin Marshall, which if the board falls the way Pro Football Focus thinks it's gonna fall, then I should be able to get one of those two at 123. I will be fine. So who had me getting 3 wide receivers in this draft? Because that's what ended up happening. Come on, Bud Clark. All right. So I think I can get Bud. Devin, 145. So I know I can get him. I can get Bud Clark right here. Like Bud Clark a lot. Had a really good Senior Bowl. And that would give me another safety. We just brought back Ronnie Hickman, so another guy who can rotate in there, play a little slot, maybe even some special teams. But yeah, I feel pretty good about this, right? Went really strong at offensive line and free agency, got some pieces as well in the draft, and then really went hard at wide receiver here. So let's get Bud Clark. And let's get to the end of this draft. Who do I want to take? Taylor Green? I wonder if Jalen Daniels is available. He was a fun guy, but he's not. Yeah, no more wide receivers. Let's just see what's on the board here. Josh Braun. Let's get Jam Miller. So that is this mock draft scenario. With Monroe Freeling, I pretty much secure up the offensive line, right? You have a left tackle on Monroe Freeling. Your left guard is probably either going to be Zion Johnson. All right, got Elgin Jenkins at left guard. And then at center, we got Sam Heck and Luke Whippler can battle that out. At right guard, we got Zion Johnson. And then at right tackle, we got Titus Howard. That's an offensive line right there. Wide receiver room, we got Jerry Jeudy. We got Denzel Boston. We got Skylar Bell, Isaiah Bond, Ted Hurst, Cedric Tillman. I think that's not terrible. It's super young, but it fits the quarterback situation. So those two positions could develop together. You got D'Angelo Pons here to play some slot corner and to just add some physicality to the run defense from the second level as well as a DB. Then you also got Max Clare. So your tight end room is now pretty set. You got Max Clare at the bottom of it more than likely. And then you have Harold Fannin at the top of this room, and then Jake Stoll as the backup. My bad on the mistake. I did use the 5th round pick that was traded, I think, to Houston in this mock scenario. I didn't take anybody in that 5th round selection, but I think I did use it in a trade. So adjust accordingly. However, I would have to adjust to make that work. Kalen Rutledge getting another guard, right? I think we're still pretty Jenkins is still Elgin Jenkins is about 30 years old, so he's not the future at guard in the same way that they're hoping Zion Johnson is. So we can develop Kalen behind him and have an extra body there. Same thing, like Sam Heck's going to be a part of future Monroe. So I think you got the core of what the offensive line is in free agency, and then you have the future of the offensive line in the draft with Kalen Rutledge, Sam Heck, and Monroe Freeling. So I think you kind of serve two masters here in an effective way. Wide receiver room, you're young, but you're much more talented. And then you have Bud Clark, another DB that you can throw in there that can cover some space, good instincts, not a true free safety, but somebody who can play some free in the Brown system. And then for fun, I got Jam Miller because I like Jam Miller's name and I like Jam Miller as a player. So that's where I went with my mock draft scenario, just locking up some of the Browns' holes for the future and for now. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Everybody have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.